it's rather amazing how we have people in our lives or people we meet that can inspire us. Whether it be we read about them and their amazing lives they've led and the things they're currently doing, or we witness someone out in the real world performing an act we never thought was possible, or maybe it's even as simple as watching a friend push through a significantly challenging part of their lives. I often find it really amazing how they can inspire us to do things we never thought we were capable of, and give us a sense of what we can even do as a human being in our own lives. I have a story I want to tell you guys about that kind of explains this, and I think we can really apply it to our lives in a cool and unique way that can really remind us really what we are capable of. Welcome to Young Humanity. See, I actually just got married last week. And therefore, I went on my honeymoon last week, hence the lack of video. Now, my plan for this honeymoon was actually to completely unplug, or at least unplug as much as I possibly could. So my aim to go out there was not to come with any new video ideas or check my YouTube or do anything like that. It was to just unplug completely and leave it alone for at least 5 days while we were out there in Canmore. Now, it's amazing what we've witnessed when we were out there that actually brought this video idea into fruition in the first place. I think it's a really cool story to tell, and it all starts with a hike. My wife and I decided to go on a hike on our honeymoon in Canmore, Alberta, on a mountain called Howling Peak. It has an elevation change of 748 meters with a total length of about 7.2 kilometers. It's rated 4.5 out of 5 stars on AllTrail difficulty level. It is one of the top hikes in all of Alberta from what we've heard, and so it was something we thought we should try on our honeymoon. Now, this isn't to sound braggy or come across by that by any means, but my wife and I would say are decently athletic. We've been playing sports our whole lives and have a general fitness level about us, so we figured that this hike wouldn't be too bad. Now, that 4.5 out of 5 difficulty rating was definitely accurate. The mountain is by no means an easy feat to achieve. It's a constant just up and up and up and up and up. There's very few actual flat points on it. Now, I love hiking. I'm a massive fan of it, and I would say a tiny bit more than my wife, but it was still an incredibly difficult one to achieve. Now, it required breaks from us. It required constant hydration, some good snacks, hello Cliff Bars, and I would highly recommend bringing poles if you really want to do this hike sometime soon. And see, the views itself were amazing, but that wasn't what inspired me, and this is where our story truly begins. Now, my wife and I have been hiking for, I would say, about 20 to 25 minutes. And to give you a bit of a rough timeline, on average, from what AllTrails says, that this hike should take 3 to 5 hours. Now, a bit of a spoiler, but by the end of it, my wife and I were just under 3 hours, so we were hitting that lower mark on the average. Now, as I was saying, we were about 20 minutes into the hike, and at that point, we've gone up a steady slope. By no means are there many flat spots on this hike. A lot of it is just walking up slowly but surely, step after step. And we hear these kind of poles behind us. Now, this wasn't the first time we've heard it, but this one took some significance. It sounded like whoever this was on a mission. So we turned around, and lo and behold, there's this lady coming up. I would say the best guess for her age is about 40 to 50 years of age. She comes up, a pole in each hand, just trekking up rather quickly and remarkably. She's a backpack on, a water bottle on both sides of her backpack, and she's wearing gear. It looks like she knows what she's doing. And by all means, from what we could tell, she definitely did. So obviously we stood to the side. She had a much better pace than we did, and we let her go on her way, wishing her luck. Hiking is kind of a camaraderie type sport where you wish the person ahead of you the best of luck, because we all know we're trying to get to the same destination. Now, we didn't think much of it because we've been passed by a few other people that looked like they, are avid hikers. So we went on our merry way, keeping up with a step after step motivation to just try to reach the top. Now, about, I would say, an hour and a half into our hike, it's about a 2-hour start for us to get from the bottom to the top. So about an hour-ish in, we see her coming back down. This is rather remarkable. She's not even using her poles at this point. She has both of them in one hand and she's just running down. We learned rather quickly on our way down that running is a little easier on the body, but she had quite the pace to it. And my wife and I looked at each other and were a little shocked, but she wasn't the first one to come down ahead of us that we had seen gone up. So again, we got to the side and let her go down. Now, eventually, my wife and I made it to the top, and my goodness, those views are worth it, guys. If you're in the area of Canmore, I highly recommend Howling Peak because the views are just gorgeous. You stand almost directly on the ridge and you see down both sides. You can see Canmore on your right and you can see the massive forest on your left. It's a beautiful, beautiful sight. And after about spending 20 to 25 minutes up there, we obviously decided to come back down. So on our way, I would say about 15 minutes into our descent, lo and behold, guess who's coming back up at us? That same lady, that same mystery hiker, pole in each hand, just trekking up one foot after the other. My wife and I looked at ourselves in disbelief. We hadn't seen anyone come back up a second time. This is, as I said, not an easy hike. There's so much verticality in it that it takes a lot out of your body to come up even the first time. But here she was coming up her second. Now at that point, my wife and I, there's no way we see her again, right? That classic, we won't ever see her after this point. We made that joke to each other actually as we saw her pass us. Because we were semi-running down the mountain as well as she had before. Probably not to the same pace she had, but anyways, we were already on her descent when she hadn't finished her ascent yet. We're getting down the mountain, slowly but surely, running, stopping, getting a drink of water, and doing that rinse and repeat just so we could stay as hydrated as possible. It was a rather warm day in Canmore, and with about 10 to 15 minutes left, we can literally see the slope of where the cars are parked. We're getting ready, we're excited to go sit in the car and talk about the cool adventure we had and look at the photos, look at the video we took, and we hear footsteps behind us. And I thought to myself, there's no way. It's impossible. Turn around, and there she is. The same mystery hiker, the same lady is running down the mountain, passes us, and gets to her car and leaves before we can even make it. So that lady ran this hike twice before we could even do it once. We were astounded. I was absolutely shocked by the fact that she was able to do this, and honestly, rather inspired. Now, what can we take away from this story? And actually, it came to me in a form of a question right after we finished the hike. What am I capable of? I think this is a great question for us to ask ourselves. Maybe it's because we focus too much on the negativity, or we look through a jealous perspective on what other people have achieved. When in reality, if we really introspectively looked at ourselves, we would find we are far more capable than we truly understand. From that moment, I took note from a man named David Goggins. I recently read his book called Can't Hurt Me. Trust me, we'll do a video on this. It is fantastic and really inspirational. And I took a thought process he terms or has termed the cookie jar. Now you might be asking, what's in your cookie jar? And what's in your cookie jar is anything that you've achieved, anything you've accomplished, anything you've found success in, whether big or small, is within that cookie jar. Maybe for you, it's that exam you aced earlier this year, or maybe for someone else, it's that game and goal that got you to the finals. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's learning that chord on the guitar. It can be anything. Anything that's brought you joy and a sense of accomplishment, that's what's in your cookie jar. That's the cookies, the little bites that are inside of there. Everyone has these moments, even if at times it's hard to remember them. I implore you to sit down and write out what those accomplishments are. Really think about it, because I'm certain there are parts of your life or moments that you've had that when you really think back, you can go, wow, I can't believe I actually achieved that. And it's important for you to really know what those are to be able to pull them out of your cookie jar later when you need them. I feel like this really helps to start to define what you are capable of. It shows you what you've done and shows you, especially in those moments where I feel like you had the same feelings as you have maybe now, where you look at them with such, I have that weakness. There's no way I can possibly do it. I'm incapable of doing that. When you actually achieve that, you set out and you achieved what you were looking forward to doing. And the whole point of the cookie jar is when you're trying to push through those hard times, you take out one of those cookies, you give it a solid bite, and you try to remember how you felt when you achieved it. Because you are far more capable than what you really can imagine. See, I actually find that your mental cookie jar is the best kind of cookie jar. There's no slapping your hand when you reach in. No, it is there for you to take part of whenever you need it. Whether you're going through a challenging time, whether you're trying to push something, whether you're trying to start something new and you're finding difficulty in it, you reach into that cookie jar and you take as many bites as you possibly need. And in that process, you will find that you are capable of doing it. So go find that cookie jar and start taking bites of some of those cookies. I know for me, it's changed the process in terms of how I look at doing challenging things. And always remember to add more to them, because every new thing you succeed in is just another cookie to add and another one to take a bite of later. And we'll see you next week.